Hi YouTube, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing a redraw of my Patron's character. This is the original artwork by my wonderful patron Kiri. You can find them on Instagram at Just a Little Kiri. This character's name is Magnolia or Maggie, and she is a Circle of Land Druid Earth Genasi. Kiri says that Maggie is just the sweetest girl and wants everyone in the world to be as happy as a sunflower. I've been wanting to do one of these events with my patrons for quite a while, and I finally found some time to do it. If you would like to have a chance at your character being drawn by me, be sure to join the Patreon over at patreon.com/Hailiiz. It is only $3 to join the very first tier, and it helps me immensely and helps, buy my cat food. So it's pretty important, helps me continue doing what I'm doing. In this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of key points I wanted to make sure I had in this picture and my thought process into kind of making it into a bigger illustration. I'm definitely still practicing and I have a long way to come, but it was really, really fun to make and I wanted to tell you about it. So for this piece, I really wanted it to look like almost like she was kind of swinging from some vines. She was having a good time. She's a happy girl. So I was kind of creating these vines in the foreground, trying to give it more depth. I will say that I feel like I could have done a lot better when it came to the movement and it came to the actual like depth of the piece. And it's something that I'm trying to get better at, but I think it turned out okay. I am going to be fast forwarding through most of this as the process is about 3 hours, but the entire process video without any cuts is available for patrons if that is something that you are interested in. The biggest thing about this character that I wanted to portray was her happiness, and this picture definitely feels very carefree. I'm definitely interested to hear more about this character. She's super fun. Also, I did notice that almost one of the legs looks like it is completely encased in vine, and I thought that was really interesting. And I love people's characters. It's so interesting to see what people put together and the backstories, and I definitely should look into the backstory of this character. I would love to do more art videos like this, specifically drawing my patrons, characters and stuff like that. I think it would be really, really cool. I'd love to practice more full illustrations like this and hopefully bring some more characters to life. I did find it a bit hard painting with so much green, and it was interesting to try and find a happy medium between sage and more of a mint color. So I had to be very, very careful, and I definitely, again, feel like I could have done better with this piece, but she's still really cute and I like her. Something I tend to do when I'm shading greens is I use more of a desaturated blue over using greens when I'm using the multiply layers, and I find that that's maybe not as effective with a piece like this. I wanted more green, I think, in the end. Something else I did differently with this piece is I put in all of these gray colors and I just left it sort of black and white to try and imagine the full illustration a bit and see how it would look. So that's why everything kind of went a little more gray instead of me going straight from line art to colors. I was trying to imagine how to make this piece turn out in a pleasing way to the eye. I find doodling in shades and contrasts beforehand to get an idea of where your illustration is going is a really great way to get started on a piece, especially if you're still kind of practicing, as artists always are. But if you're still kind of trying to figure out the best way to bring something fully to life, I think it's a great way to start an illustration. I definitely had a hard time with two things in this piece specifically. One of them being the hair. I feel like it's a bit too boxy, and while I love, some good thick hair, the silhouette of it maybe wasn't as interesting as I could have made it. And maybe I'll get to draw this character again one day and do her a bit better justice, but I think that's something very important to remember when you are doing hair, especially with movement, is the silhouette of it. Is it interesting if you just change it to one flat color? It's a good question to ask yourself. The other and most difficult of this piece was definitely not just the pose, but the shoulder and the hands. It was so difficult for me. Maybe I was just off my game, but it was it was a difficult pose to do and definitely requires some more practice in that area. Again, I still think she turned out cute, but I think it's important to notice the things you could have done better, because when you do your next piece, you can consider them. I think my last little tip in this draw with me is going to be, when you are shading yellow, try not to use just a quote unquote darker yellow. It's going to turn out mucky. And I find that using like a desaturated peach or just a more saturated orange color, kind of play around with that depending on your style. But if you go down to the bottom right of like a yellow area, if you're looking at the box of color, it's gonna get a little mucky, and maybe in the eyes you won't notice it as much, but if you're doing a lot of yellow, definitely something to consider. And that is it for today's video. If you are interested in seeing the full process, about 3 hours long, it is available through Patreon, and the piece is now posted on my Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for being here. Bye.